Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charnow, leading the next generation of football fans live on the Hard Count Football YouTube channel, and of course, right here on 1252 Sports Chicago. Guys, it's May 29th. It's Memorial Day weekend. Obviously, a happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody. It's very excited. Barbecues, watermelon, a lot of fun stuff. Get the grills out. Probably the first time, at least around here in New Jersey, and around here in this area, that we're gonna get the weather to really start being outside, which is awesome. You love to see it, especially with summer coming up. We have a lot of NFL news to talk about, and of course, as always, we'll be joined in just a second with Harry the Greek. He's gonna, I'm gonna ask him about all this stuff here, get his opinions on it. I'll give my opinions on it. I'm sure he'll give out a few games as he always does. Whether that do be, baseball, football, whatever it is, basketball, hockey, whatever it's gonna be. But the man knows what he's talking about. Obviously, 59-26, as he'll tout here in just a minute. But listen to his picks. He knows what he's talking about. And chances are he'll make you some money if you listen to him. So I say, without further ado, we bring him in here because I want to ask him. I was doing a lot of research on this, and really going through these. Harry,
hey man, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing really well here. I want to immediately ask you about this because this is very interesting. I was looking at FanDuel and kind of just the lines, the win totals for each of these teams, each of these NFL teams heading into next season.
Oh boy.
So I have three teams for you that I think will go over their win totals, and I have three teams that I think will go under their win totals. Okay. So first up, the first team I think is going to go over their win total is the New Orleans Saints. This is a team I've been pretty positive about this entire offseason. You look at the offseason they just had, right? With they added Chris Olave, right? They really didn't lose that many pieces besides Teron Armstead, but their backup, who he's kind of a fill and replace guy, obviously won't play at the all-pro level that Teron Armstead did probably in year one, but it doesn't matter, right? Jameis Winston, when he played last year, was great. And people tend to not remember that because he got hurt and they played with 5 different starting quarterbacks last year, and the team almost ended up making the playoffs.
I know.
So
it was amazing what that team did. What do you have the over and under set at that one?
So the win total for the Saints right now is at 8 wins. So I think that they go over that. Listen, besides the Bucs, this is a very, very weak division. They get 4 games against the Panthers and the Falcons. Overall, their schedule is really not that difficult. But look, like I said, Jameis was good last year. Michael Thomas is coming back. They added Chris Olave, who was the perfect piece to complement Jameis Winston's game. I love the addition of Chris Olave, along with adding a Jarvis Landry, who kind of struggled last year and with the Browns. But we know every receiver that has played with the Browns in the last couple of years has struggled and then gone on to do some good things, such as an Odell Beckham. I think Jameis will elevate these receivers. I think that Jameis will be better than what Drew Brees was 2 years ago. I really do think that.
Say it again.
I think Jameis will be better than what Drew Brees was 2 years ago. Not in general. Not obviously Drew Brees. Drew Brees had a Hall of Fame career, an illustrious career. Jameis won't top that. But I think the last year that Jameis was there, that last year that Drew Brees was there, I think Jameis is going to have better quarterback play than that, and certainly better quarterback play than they had last year, and they were still winning games. And people want to say, well, Sean Payton left, and I understand that, but don't forget the Saints hired their defensive coordinator in Dennis Allen. It's a new head coach, but it is the same kind of system that they're running there in New Orleans. Not a lot is going to change. So I don't think coaching will be an issue. I think this team is poised to go over that win total of 8. I think they win 9, 10 games this year and make the playoffs. Harry, what do you think? Because I think the Saints are truly a playoff team this year.
Well, first off, let me start by saying the general public is starting to think exactly the way you are, Jacob. Because originally, in the beginning part of the season, prior to the draft and prior to the acquisitions, it was only 6.5 wins. I want you to think about that. It was 6.5 wins. I ended up getting up at 7. Okay. I bought them again at 7.5. Don't be shy of even betting them at 8. I'm sorry, Tampa Bay fans. You are the best team in that division. But if you have one hiccup, one, and you let this team beat you twice, this could be very, very, very bad, unfortunately, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because I'm telling you now, this New Orleans Saints teams, even though I don't like them as a team, but I don't bet with my heart, they are loaded. And let me go ahead and give you some reasons why. Olave from University of Ohio is going to peel the top of this defense apart, which Jameis absolutely loves to throw the deep ball. You have the slant master with Mr. Thomas. What the hell's his first name again?
Michael Thomas. He's the
Michael
slant
Thomas.
master, but he's the best in the league at doing it. So I
Eh,
don't.
right, but Jameis is not really, really good at throwing the slant passes. However, they also have Jarvis Landry. Okay. You don't know where this ball is going to be going to. And you have a decent tight end and a revamped offensive line. And let's not forget about this guy in the backfield called Alvin Kamara, who's really good at catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yep.
They do need the only thing I see a glaring notice about this team, because they're going to be a very run happy team, and especially playing defense. And when you have a quarterback like a Jameis Winston that can throw the ball any throw on the football field and make every one of them, they need someone a little bit bigger who is a true three down back to complement Alvin Kamara. Because when Alvin Kamara is out there and they're running a three wide receiver set, you now essentially have four wide receivers. If they ever run two running backs, this team could be extremely dangerous. So, to answer your question, yes, I do believe in the over. That is my dark horse in the NFC South to win the division. If the key word, if Tampa Bay has one little hiccup. Tampa's still the best team in that division, but I'm
Listen,
telling you,
you,
this
you know,
Saints team is unbelievable.
we talk. You said they need that three down back. I think they have that big guy with Mark Ingram. He's not as as tall, but he's certainly a big. He's big, and he can definitely get that first down on those short yardages for sure.
Then
Um,
why haven't they been using him? I understand he's been a little bit
it's
dinged up, and
it's
I
really
think
because
Father Time.
Kamara's pretty good.
Listen, let me tell you something. Mark Ingram from 3 years ago, that kid was a beast. If he can even show if he can show a glimpse of what he was like 3 years ago, I'm telling you, that running game in New Orleans is going to make a lot of defenses honest, just like they are in Indianapolis. But go ahead. I don't want to spend too much time on that. And I don't want too many people to hate me, but I definitely bet the over 8.
Yeah.
Actually, I bet over 7 and 7.5. 8 starting to push it, and you're not making the playoffs unless you're a 10 or 11 win team.
Yeah, but I love this team. I love, they lost Gerard Armstead. They added the kid Trevor Penning. I forgot where he went to school. Goddamn. Wherever he came out of, he's a rookie. They drafted him in the first round. The kid is mean, Harry. This kid, he is aggressive. I think he might not play right away, strictly because he had a problem with penalties, and he's aggressive, which means that after the play push that you could do in college, you can't really do that anymore, because they're kind of looking for that, especially with these offensive linemen. But he's mean, and I think they're really going to tone him in, and I think he'll be a a really, really good player by, if not midway through the year, then by next season, this kid is going to be a franchise starter for the Saints,
Right.
and replace Teron Armstead really well and continue with this run game. The Saints have had really good drafting offensive lines because they want to keep this run game moving. I think with Kamara, people, they tout him for his receiving ability, which is obviously the best part of his game. But don't get me wrong, this kid can run the football. He is obviously a great running back. He finds the holes. He's incredibly shifty. And the reason they don't really use Mark Ingram to the best of his ability is because they don't really need to, right? Kamara is that guy every down. And when Kamara is hurt, we see Mark Ingram have these big games because simply the offense it's a run first offense, like it has been, right? When Drew Brees was there and when they didn't have great quarterback play. And now having Jameis Winston, it helps Kamara more. But
When you go up when you go up against teams with stout defenses, the Chicago Bears, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the San Diego, I'm sorry, the Chargers, you know, all these teams that really know how to stuff the run, okay? You want to soften up a defense, you don't do it with finesse. You got to do it by softening them up, by using a big back that's getting in there and plowing them. I don't care if you're only averaging 1 yard per gain. You are really you're trying to impose your will on a defense, and then you catch that defense off. Because God forbid the game is tight and it's in the third quarter. Those defenses that you're running north and south on have a tendency of running south all the time. It's the shifty backs running left and right, like the Alvin Kamara's, the kid from Carolina. I mean, you need a guy that's going to hit the hole, hit the middle, not afraid to take the shots. You want to go downhill, and I'm telling you, New Orleans is this team this year. You're going to see a lot of Alvin Kamara, but I promise you, you're going to see a ton of Mark Ingram this year.
Yeah, yeah, I expect it. It's not that they
The
use him
over.
more in the red zone. They use
Bet the
him.
over.
They use him a lot on the short yardages, which I think is fine. I think that's where they should use him. You don't want to risk. Listen, it's the game where one hit could knock a player out for his career. It could be especially a guy like Kamara, who he does have injury concerns. You really should use Mark Ingram on those short yardages. But also you don't want to overuse him because you do want to give Kamara that place to shine as your RB1. But we'll see what Dennis Allen chooses to do this year. With that two-headed, I really do think it's a two-headed monster they have in New Orleans. I think Mark Ingram is a great running back. The second team that I think is going to go over their win total. And listen, the scale has kind of balanced out for me because it leaned really far towards the under for me for a while. And that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think they do end up going over their win total only because it's low. It's at 7.5. And I think this team can win 8-9 games. Not necessarily make the playoffs, but I truly do think they can win 8 or 9 games. Listen, last year, this was not a bad football team. They had bad quarterback play. And you want to look at it like that. The Ben Roethlisberger was bad last year. We know he was old, right? We know he was banged up, but he was still bad. And there's no excuses for being bad, right? That's the bottom line. I don't care if you're old. I don't care if you're injured. If you're playing on the field and you're bad, that's on you. He wasn't making good throws. He wasn't making good decisions. He wasn't athletic anymore, is the reality of the situation.
Right.
So improved quarterback play with I do believe Mitch Trubisky will be the week 1 starter in Pittsburgh. And I think he will be an improvement over Ben Roethlisberger from that last year. He'll allow the offense to do more than just, run and make those the short slants and all that stuff, those quick yardages that the Steelers loved to do last year. You can truly start to see these guys like Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. And I do think George Pickens ends up being pretty good. But you start to see those guys start to step up and be able to do more and show what they truly can do with a quarterback with a better arm, whether that is Trubisky or Kenny Pickett. I really do think both of them have both of them have a better arm than Ben Roethlisberger had that last year in Pittsburgh. This defense is still dominant, right? You look at this defensive line just with TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and all these guys. This is a very, very dominant defense with a very dominant defensive head coach. I mean, we know the Steelers. I don't need to worry about the Steelers defense, is what I'm saying. Then on top of
you
that,
know what? Actually, you do a little bit because, again, when you say the word dominance when you're dominant on both sides against the run and against the pass. Let me tell you something. Pittsburgh's run defense right up the middle, they can get gouged and scorched, man, huge and hardcore because they are such an aggressive team. They are missing one dominant interior defensive lineman. If they do get him, this team will be unbelievable against the run. But that is the one Achilles heel against them. That's why they struggle against teams like Cleveland, who likes to run the football. Listen to me. You swore I didn't go to college. Who like to run the football, not likes. Um, that's the only thing that's about it. But yeah, but go ahead and proceed. I mean, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and end it for you about Pittsburgh. If you want to bet the over, don't do it until the start or even toward the end of preseason. And I'm going to explain to you why. If that number total continues to dip, that means Kenny Pickett's going to start, and you don't know what you're going to get with that. But if that over and under stays the same, that means Trubisky's going to be your quarterback. That's your best chance of winning for now. Okay, so definitely go ahead and play the over, but stay away from that line. That's very scary because that line is actually dropped a half a game, and that's usually an indication of uncertainty as who's going to be QB1 to start the year.
On top of this, though, you look at the Steelers' run game, and I know it's the same running back, and it's a similar offensive line, but you have Najee heading into his second year, and with the better quarterback play, we know he won't have to do as much, won't have to carry this team on his back, and the offense as much as he did last year. And I think Najee is poised for another great season, and I think that will definitely help this offense score more points and help and ultimately help them win some games. Um, because the Steelers have really relied on the run, and I think they can continue to do that with the option to still throw the ball well, which I don't think they really had last year, because whatever quarterback is playing does have great weapons. They have really good pieces to work with between a Deontay Johnson, who is very underrated in my opinion. That drop narrative is not as real as people like to say it is. Chase Claypool's great, and then I think George Pickens ends up being pretty decent, which I said before. So I like the Steelers over 7.5 if Trubisky's starting, but like Harry said, I'd wait to see who the starter is, because if Kenny Pickett's the starter, that situation kind of changes.
Because that line's going to drop. It
Yeah,
really will.
I'd like
I
to
don't
see.
care. I don't care if it drops to 5. If Kenny Pickett's your week 1 starter and they're going to commit to him, you bet the under. Don't be afraid to bet the under. Even when it seems too good to be true, don't be afraid to bet the under. That means the books are begging you to bet the over. Do you understand that? They're
Yeah,
begging you to bet the over. Don't be afraid to bet the under. I don't care if the juice is even more. And I want to go back to the New Orleans thing. Another reason why I think New Orleans is going to be a much better team this year, especially with Jameis Winston under center, there is something that they've done in the offseason so far for him to work on. They have gotten rid of, and if you started noticing it last year, Jameis Winston had a horrible hitch in his throwing motion. Okay, and that's from playing baseball. Okay, it's one of those motions where the ball comes here and then it comes out over the top. There's a lot of quarterbacks that had that issue. Let me tell you something. They've gotten rid of that hitch. And if he continues to do it that way, he's picking up almost a full tenth of a second. That doesn't seem like a lot on his throwing motion. And that'll enable him to make better decisions going downfield. And I always said the guy didn't have really good backside presence. Just ask Donovan Smith, because they blamed him for years down here in Tampa Bay, and it really wasn't his fault. The man just couldn't get rid of the football. There was a lot of things with his footwork and his mechanics, but they fixed that in New Orleans. I'm going to get off that bandwagon. And by the way, the other one with the real bad hitch is a kid in Chicago by the name of Justin Fields. If they can improve that, he's going to take a lot less sacks, make a lot better decisions. And I'll tell you what, he throws a prettier ball, a better ball than a Jameis Winston does.
Yeah, a guy who Justin Fields should really look at if you want to learn how to get rid of that hitch. A guy who we saw, he kind of had it when he came into the league. He got rid of it really quickly, is Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Now Russell Wilson has one of, if not the best backside awareness in the entire NFL, because he had to get it because he was constantly getting hit, because the Seahawks had no offensive line for 10 years. So Russell Wilson's a great guy for Justin Fields to learn after. So I'm sure he knows what he's doing, but I really do think Russell Wilson is a great model for Justin Fields and truly his ceiling, in my opinion, if he can figure that out. The third team that I think, and I talked about them last week, I know, and I'm going to talk about them a whole lot more the rest of the offseason, because I love this team. And this is a high win total, and I do think they go over it. Their win total's at 9.5, Harry. I think the Philadelphia Eagles go over their win total this season.
That's a tough number, because it might
9.5.
only be it might be 9 or 10 games that this team wins. You got to stay away from this game.
I think this team can win 11 games this year.
I think they could only lose 2 or 3 games. This team's got to stay healthy. The biggest question mark for this team, they've put this defense together. This offensive line is solid. They got a great running game and an even better receiving core. The question mark is whether or not the guy up under center has it in between his ears and he can get the ball downfield without taking off so much. And he has the propensity of wanting to run, because that is his God-giving ability. He loves to run.
I'll go out on a limb here and I'll say this. I'll say, well, obviously, the Eagles, they're in a bad division. And before I get into Jalen Hurts, I'll go through all the other things, because this Jalen Hurts narrative is something that I want to put to bed pretty quickly, because I am a believer in Jalen Hurts, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But this Eagles team is in a bad division. The NFC East is bad. They get 4 games against Washington and the Giants, and then I think they do end up beating the Cowboys. I think they'll probably split with the Cowboys, if I were to guess. So that's already 5 wins for this team. On top of that, they have a relatively easy schedule, and this is a team that can beat good teams. Right. This is not a all right, well, they play easy teams and they do all this. This is a team that's going to win football games. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, incredible receiving core. Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert have obviously have that connection that we saw last year. This run game is going to be good. The offensive line is still good. And it's a much improved defense, which was a big hole for the Eagles last year, especially in that secondary. But they do have Darius Slay, continuing to have Darius Slay, and then adding James Bradbury will be big for this team, as well as adding a Jordan Davis and a Nakobe Dean will be big. And here's what I want to say here about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is going to be good, and he has the arm, he has the awareness. He won't have to do that much, because this run game is going to be good. And here's what I'll say. Jalen Hurts has a chance to be what everyone wants Lamar Jackson to be. He can run just as effectively. He's not as shifty, but he can run just as effectively as Lamar can.
Not many quarterbacks can run like a Lamar or even
and
the
he
kid.
Has a better arm and he's more accurate, and he has better receivers.
I think he's got better receivers by far, and he has a better arm.
So what I don't understand is this going around, right? If Lamar has no receivers, he's that arm strength still isn't the accuracy still isn't really there, right? That we haven't seen it. And I still think Lamar can be good, obviously, but overall, what's stopping this Eagles team from being better than the Ravens? Why is that not something being talked about? Because I think they will absolutely win more games than the Ravens do next year.
Because it's the Ravens. It's the mystique of that huge defense. It's the uncertainty with Philadelphia's defense. It's Lamar Jackson, who everybody was talking about being MVP. Jalen Hurts wasn't even in the same sentence as Lamar Jackson.
This Eagles team is set up better for the next 5 years than if Jalen Hurts is good, this Eagles team is set up for better for the next 5 years than the Ravens are.
Without that goes without saying. But yes, if that win total was 8, I'd say jump on it now. Now, just jump on it. But where it's at, buddy, they're begging you to bet the under. And I'm even being apprehensive about telling you to bet the over. If it's too good to be true, it generally is, because that win total is so high. Bet the over in it then. If you're that convinced that this team is going to be as good as what you're saying, then you have to bet the over. I still think they're winning the division. That's just my personal opinion.
I think in order to win the division, they need to win 10, 11 games.
Okay, but 12. Yes, I get that. But here's the issue. One of these years, and it hasn't been in your lifetime, that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win a playoff game. Jacob, it's going to be it's one of these years they have to do it. Could it be this year? They're definitely stacked. I still think that their defense is lacking just a smidge, in my opinion. You can't rest your hat on a corner and a linebacker in that system. I mean, they have some big name players, but I mean, Dallas isn't there. So who's the next team you wanted to ask about the over under on?
So Dallas, I want to talk about Dallas a little bit too, because Dallas is one that I was teetering on the under for this list, but they're at a weird number. I think it was 9. Like it was a number I didn't like. But this is not saying that Dallas can't be a playoff team still. This is saying that the Eagles are going to be a lot better than the Cowboys, but the Cowboys could still make the playoffs with 10 wins, right? The NFC is they're really it's super competitive. And I think the Cowboys end up competing for a playoff spot, and I don't know if they end up getting it. But I don't even think it's close. I think the Eagles they should be the favorite to win this division, and the fact they aren't still is ridiculous to me. So I'm taking the Eagles to not only win the division, but to win over 9.5 games.
Right.
This is a team that I truly do believe in, and Jalen Hurts is gonna be the reason why. He's gonna take that next step. I truly do think that, and it's another year in this offense with Nick Sirianni. I love the Eagles this year. I'll say that, and this
Listen,
is a team I'm going to talk about a lot.
you've brought up some real valid, solid points. I guess if you had me in a corner and you had a gun facing me, I'm gonna have to tell you to play the over on it. But I'm saying it very apprehensively because I didn't like what I seen out of the quarterback play. You can surround yourself with everybody, but you know what? I know why the Eagles did it because they're built to win. They're built to win now. And if they don't get it out of the quarterback play, I promise you, next year they'll keep
Sure,
this team
absolutely.
intact and they will bring a quarterback in here and
Yes, yes.
immediately be a playoff contender, if not a Super Bowl contender. Who's your next team, Jacob?
So that's my list of teams that are going to go over.
Okay.
Now we can move into the teams that I think go under.
Well, before
And
you do that, I do want to give a little plug for today.
sure,
Fred Hubner and Fat Mike are going to be in Chicago. A matter of fact, at a place called the Coach's Corner. It's in Orland Park, and if I'm not mistaken, it's about 113th. You're going to have to look it up for those of you that are in Chicago. Fred Hubner live with Fat Mike. They're going to be doing something for the Chicago White Sox, the Inter-Series League game between the White Sox and those dreadful Cubbies up there in the north side, because you have to represent, because good guys wear black. Just remember that. But you know what? Go up there and you sit on Team Hubner because he's a White Sox fan. And if you're a Cub fan down on the south side, don't worry. Just don't wear your jersey going in there because it's not safe. We get it. But do me a favor. Come to the dark side. Put that jersey on down on the south side and go sit on Hubner's side because Fat Mike doesn't know what he's doing. But don't worry. He's going to have a come to Jesus meeting soon because he's going to realize that the good guys only wear black. But don't forget, today, go see Hubner and go see Fat Mike down at the Coach's Corner down in Orland Park.
yep. All right. So the teams that are going to go under, we'll keep it in the NFC East, Terry, with my first pick. I have two teams here that I'm very confident in, and one that I would love to get your opinion on because it's the last one, and I'm still iffy on it. But
Okay.
I think I'm it's pretty bold what I'm going to say for that. So the teams that are going to go under, first up, keep it in the NFC East. I think the New York Giants go under their win total of 7.5. This is not saying that, and I hate to be that guy, right? I hate to be the guy that after a good offseason is for a team to be like, but the Giants are that team. 7.5 is a lot of wins for this team. It is. They're going to have to play the Cowboys twice. They're going to have to play the Eagles twice. And they do have a very, very easy schedule. But I think they're just a bad team. I really am not a believer in this. And I don't understand this many wins. If it was 5.5 or 6.5, I'd say maybe like I'll think about it. But 7.5 is so many that, questionable quarterback play. And I'll say questionable as a compliment because we don't know what Daniel Jones is going to do this year, which makes it even scarier if you want to bet the over, because Daniel Jones could be awful. Because you think about it, right? New head coach, first year in this new head coach's offense. You don't know how he's going to react, right? I've seen nothing from Daniel Jones that should lead me to believe that he's going to be any better than he was last year or the year before, right? Now, I've seen little to no improvement. There's the same receivers there, right? Still Kenny Golladay, if he can stay on the field. But even when he was in the field, he wasn't effective last year. I like this kid, Wan'Dale Robinson, they drafted, and I think he'll be decent. But he's not going to be that star-studded wide receiver that's going to take Daniel Jones to the next level. This team still doesn't have a good defense. This secondary is still not good. They lose arguably their best piece, their best corner in James Bradbury, right? They let him go. And now, I like their safety plays okay with Xavier McKinney, but it's not great. This defensive line is still not great. They add Kayvon Thibodeau, but the rest of their defensive line is not good. Their offensive line is still, I would say, meh, right? They're not as bad as they were last year, but they're still not great. I just don't see this team winning more than 7 games, Harry. I really can't see it. Do you like this Giants team next year? Because I think this team will be better, but I still think they need a new quarterback. And having the first year in this Brian Daboll offense, it could be tough for Daniel Jones. And I think we might see him struggle a lot. next season.
You ready for me?
Sure.
Okay, this team's going to be worse than they were last year. And I'm going to explain why. It's because of that head coach. Okay? Because of the newly acquired head coach. Sorry, New York Giant fans. Let me explain to you why. At this point in time in this year, you guys are going to be playing for a quarterback. This team does not, and especially with Brian Daboll, he is not a big believer in a running game. Okay, he likes to run five-man protections all the time, and you don't have an offensive line. You got really good wide receivers. You have one of the best running backs in the entire National Football League sitting behind there, not even going to utilize him properly. Okay, so this team is rebuilding. The reason why it's 7.5 is because two of those wins they're expecting to come from their head coach because of what he brought to the Buffalo Bills. Read my lips. Because of what he brought to the Buffalo Bills in that offensive scheme. He cannot bring that offensive scheme to the New York Giants because they're missing an entire offensive line. Their entire offensive line is horrid, absolutely horrid. They can't run block. They definitely can't pass protect. I am not a doubter in Daniel Jones like a lot of other people are because they haven't surrounded him with what they were going to do for him. Now, when Saquon Barkley was running the ball effectively, if you remember this correctly, Daniel Jones had his most success. But when they weren't feeding the ball to Saquon or he was injured, they were relying on Daniel Jones. Okay, so that can make a quarterback look bad. Sound familiar, Mr. Mitchell Trubisky? Sound familiar to a lot of other quarterbacks in the National Football League that aren't getting a fair shake? I'll even throw a Sam Darnold in there. I'll throw a lot of other quarterbacks in there. Okay, maybe some of them will never pan out to be that way, but don't get too down on Daniel Jones. But this team is actually going to be worse. I have my largest position on over and unders on the under this year with the New York Giants. And it's because of their head coach, because of the offensive scheme. Because I haven't found one head coach yet in the National Football League, especially new ones, that want to adapt to the player personnel that they currently have because they believe their system wins football games. And that's where they're incorrect. You name one coach that adapts to their players rather than their system. Look what happened in Chicago for 4 straight years. Do I need to remind everybody? You had really, really good running backs, but you refused to run the football. Brian Daboll is not going to be any different. And if he is, the team goes over, but it ain't happening.
Yeah,
This
here's
team
my
is playing
thing.
for a quarterback. They're definitely playing under. Sorry to be so long-winded.
Here's my thing. I like Brian Daboll. I really do. And
So do I.
I really think he deserves this head coaching job. I think
Mhm.
what he did in Buffalo is great. I think
Yep.
he's part of the reason Josh Allen was so great. I do. I think Josh Allen's still going to be great, but I think it's part of the reason why he developed the way he did.
Josh Allen could be one of the best quarterbacks
But
in the entire National Football League if they run more than a five-man protection. The
but
end.
my problem is that, yeah, Daniel Jones obviously isn't Josh Allen, and the talent,
No.
the
But
talent.
then again, well, hold on, man. That's just not fair to say that. How the hell do you how the hell do we even know that? Josh Allen wasn't that good in the first couple of years in the National Football League.
He wasn't good for 2 years.
And then they developed the same way. Then they developed an offensive line they put in front of him that was
It,
able to protect him. Then they brought in Stephon Diggs. They never ran the football. Josh Allen will probably be a much better quarterback than Daniel Jones, but don't sell Daniel Jones short. They've got to put an offensive line in front of him. I keep pounding this
it's not
narrative week in, week out. They haven't put an offensive line in front of this kid.
what I'll say is that it's not the offensive line that's going to kill this team. It's the defense. And what Buffalo did so well for Josh Allen and helped him out so much is the fact that Buffalo's defense kept putting Josh Allen in great field position consistently all of throughout the entirety of that time where he was developing. Right, they made it as easy as possible for him.
The
The Giants
defense
are going
was
to be
mediocre the past 2 years, Jacob.
the Giants are going to be playing down big. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. Daniel Jones, that decision making still is bad. It's terrible. I haven't seen any improvement for it, right? His mechanics haven't gotten better. His decision making hasn't gotten better. And those are the two factors that, that's what you want to see when you're developing a quarterback. I think Daniel Jones, in all reality, is just a miss for the Giants. I do. And I think that's
We
okay
can
to admit
agree.
right now.
We can agree to disagree on this. Quarterbacks are a product of their system. You want to talk about a quarterback that misses his reads and makes bad decisions under pressure? Is Tom Brady. Okay. If you don't protect your quarterback, you are going to make bad decisions. I hate to go automatically to the GOAT, but I'm not comparing the two. I'm only giving you a comparison. You have got to protect this quarterback, and they have not done that consistently since he has been in the National Football League. I'm sorry, they haven't done it. They have set this kid up to fail. Shame on the New York Giants organization. Shame on the Chicago Bears organization for doing the same thing to a Jay Cutler, to to Mitchell Trubisky, and not a Justin Fields. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah, yeah. The next team that I think I'm pretty confident is going to go on.
Woo! I'm getting
Yeah.
fired up today. I hope you guys don't take offense to that.
The next team that I think goes under, and I'm pretty confident, and I think it's pretty obvious, is the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, they're set at 5.5 over under for their win total. I think this team goes under. I think this team wins 2-3 games.
I agree.
But they have no quarterback. And listen, Geno Smith, I love you. I can't. I hate to be the Geno Smith hater and the Drew Lock hater because these are two lovable guys. But come on. You can't be going into a season with these quarterbacks, and they have less defense than they had last year. That's impressive. That's impressive. I thought they couldn't get any worse, and they lose their best corner. Come on. We're gonna see. This might be Pete Carroll's last year coaching the Seahawks. And
rightfully so.
And we're gonna see why Russell Wilson meant so much to this team all these years.
But they got it wrong. They let their quarterback go instead of firing their head coach.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're telling me that they believed in the coach's ability and his coaching scheme more than they did Russell Wilson?
Trust me, Harry,
I'm going to laugh this year. Bet him.
I went on this rant a couple months ago about Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson when this news was happening. But, even more for the Seahawks, it doesn't help that they're in one of the toughest divisions in football, where all three of these teams are good, right? The Rams, Niners, and Cardinals are all good teams.
It's a tough division. It's just like Kansas City's decision.
Yeah, I think they go 0-6 in the division this year too.
Who else do you like? Who else do you like in the for the over under that you think is going to go under?
So this is the last one I had for the under. And then I have a few ones I'm kind of on the border on, but this is the one. This team is is set at 9.5 wins.
Ooh, right? Who is it?
9.5 wins. This team has a quarterback that we saw regressed last year, especially in the playoffs. They lost their top receiver this offseason, Harry. This defense still isn't threatening. It's a bad defense. The defense still isn't threatening, Harry. They never have been. They weren't good last year.
Who is it?
It's the Tennessee Titans, Harry.
Under.
This team 9.5 wins? Come on. And I know it's a bad division, but like still, the 9.5 wins. And Mike Vrabel's a great coach, and he won 10 games or more than he was the number 1 seed in the AFC last year with no Derrick Henry and none of that. But we start to see this Ryan Tannehill trade next year. I think we start to see it start to sink. And I think Derrick Henry still has a big year, and they can still win less than 9 games.
If he finishes the season, and I think you're now going to see what happens when you feed a guy a ball 400 times a year. Okay, I don't. Once you get injured with those type of injuries and you're out for the season, you don't come back and stay healthy. That's what history says to itself. Ryan Tannehill, he's going to have a regressed year because they're going to be clamoring for the guy that he doesn't want to mentor. And you lose your wide receiver with a defense that's mediocre at best. Under, baby, under.
Yeah,
sorry.
I like the under too for this team, but it's hard to doubt Mike Vrabel. He's such a good coach, man, and he did so much last year with so little.
Do you recall when you just in this past segment on the past team when you were talking about teams? This particular team has the easiest schedule in the National Football League. That's why it's so high.
Yeah,
that's another reason why I like the under. It's because typically during the preseason, when you have the easiest ranked schedule, it usually turns out to be the mediocre to a hard schedule. It's teams that come in and say that they have the hardest schedule going into the season generally end up with one of the easier schedules in football. That's the way history of the past 20 years since I've been doing this and monitoring it, that's the way it's happened. It's the teams that are in the middle that you never know. But generally, the hardest schedules usually end up with one of the easier schedules, and one of the easiest schedules usually end up being one of the hardest schedules.
Yeah,
I don't know
Harry.
if you knew that or not.
Yeah, no, but so here's another team that I was looking at. Their win totals at 9.5 also, and
Oh,
we talked about the Eagles being the team that's kind of relying on their quarterback heading into next year. It's all kind of falling on him. But this 9.5 is very interesting for me because of the quarterback play there and because of what that situation looks like. And that's the San Francisco 49ers are currently at 9.5. So we know the coach is good. We know Shanahan is the man. We know that this defense is still going to be pretty decent no matter who's playing in it, because every time we doubt them, they still play well. It's all, I hate to be the downer for this quarterback, only in his second year, but it's kind of on Trey Lance right now, isn't it, Harry?
it
It
has to
kind
be.
of is, because this is people are expecting him to be better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Harry, I'll let you start with this. Is he gonna
How?
be better than Jimmy Garoppolo?
How? I don't know how. I mean, it's almost saying Jacob, are you going to get a college scholarship for baseball? I have no clue
No,
with this
no,
one.
I'm not. I
You know,
promise.
but that's probably what I'm going to say about Trey Lance being better than Jimmy G. If that was the case, they would have gave him a lot more opportunities last year to go ahead and play. There's still something with this kid's mechanics that they don't like, because let me explain something to you. Shanahan's offense is one of the easiest offenses to operate, and it's one of the most effective. I
Mhm.
mean, and he telegraphs everything, but you still can't stop it. That's the sign of a great offensive mind. But if anybody was primed to play in year one, it was Trey Lance. But as far as
See,
the
here's
over
my
and
thing,
under,
Harry.
I don't know what to say. I really don't. I don't know whether to go over or under.
Harry, I have to disagree that he was. I don't think he was the most primed to play year one. I think he was the least. I think
No, no,
that.
no. He was most primed to play, not as the quarterback. I'm talking about in a system.
Okay,
He was
fair, fair,
he
fair,
was
fair.
ready. He was ready to play because of the system.
Yes,
You
sure.
are
But
absolutely correct. He was the least to succeed. But we're
sure.
not giving any love to the Houston Texans here, guys, with
I
a
can't
quarterback in
give love.
Davis Mills.
I'll get into it. I'll get into it in a second, but I want to really
You
indulge
want to dig into Houston,
into this Trey Lance thing.
Frisco.
So Trey Lance, he played at North Dakota State, and
Yep.
I'm done. And I know, and Harry, you know me, I'm done with this whole narrative of I played at a small school. There's no chance he's good. That's some BS, because we've seen it be proved wrong over and over and over and over again. But Trey Lance is in. You said it. Trey Lance is in the easiest offense possible for him.
Yep.
Right? The only offense easier would be the New England Patriots offense for him to look good.
I don't know, man. I
Dude,
think that
Lance, come on, I think his upside is certainly higher than Jimmy Garoppolo, because Trey Lance certainly has the talent, but when there's I don't know, because you look at it, right, and everyone wants to talk about this whole sitting quarterbacks for a year thing, and then when it happens, people start to doubt the kid that they're sitting for a year, right? Because every year there's these quarterbacks. Oh, he needs to sit. He needs to sit for a year. He needs to sit for a year. I promise, if Kenny Pickett does not play a snap this year, that next year it's going to be the same narrative as it is with Trey Lance right now. Oh, they
if
don't think
Kenny
he's ready to
Pickett
play.
if Kenny Pickett doesn't play a snap this year, that means Mitchell Trubisky has taken this kid to the playoffs and he's having an unbelievable season and almost
Yeah,
Pro Bowl.
yeah,
Otherwise, he's playing.
but
So that brings us back to that narrative. Why isn't this kid Trey Lance playing for San Francisco? It's because, just like you said, they may have swung. Oh, ooh, I didn't see that ball going by me and missed.
yeah, I don't think so. I think that they listen to look how many draft picks they traded just to
And
move
I'm
up to
tired of
this level.
talking about people with talent, okay? Because when I hear people saying, boy, he's got all the talent in the world, so did Jeff George. That's before your time. If you don't know who he is, there's people that are watching this show know exactly who it is. He could throw a football from end zone to end zone. Best quarterback to come out of college and just couldn't win. You know why? Because he didn't have the it factor. And that's what Jimmy G has.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know if
It's
he has
it's
that.
it's better than Trey Lance, obviously,
I
because you
like
know
Trey
what?
Lance. I do
It
think Trey
look
Lance is going to be pretty
look
good this year, Harry. I don't think he's going
look,
to be great. I think he's going to
it
be,
if
like,
Shanahan says this play is gonna work and you tell him it doesn't, who do you think is gonna be 99% right?
uh, yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be the
I just
coach.
think,
I'll take a back seat to that coach any day of the week. That man knows how to run an offense.
I just think that, um, Trey Lance ends up being mediocre, and I think that's okay to say. I think he's going to be okay. Um, I think if we're ranking quarterbacks at the end of this season, I think he's going to fall somewhere between 22 and 25,
That's
right?
not okay.
Or I'll say
That's
I'll
not
say
o
I'll
that
say
that that's not okay for a first round draft pick.
I'll say 20 to 24 because it's his first year playing, you know? It's going to be his first year playing, having that full workload as a quarterback, and I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be all right. But the 9.5 is mind-boggling. I have no idea what to do on that. I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole right now. I just want to sit back and watch what this Niners team can do next year with Trey Lance, and then, maybe next year, year after this year, we'll start talking about, well, look what Trey Lance did last year, because then we can start talking about that win total for the Niners. But I don't know. But there's another win total, Harry. This team's projected to win, I think it was 10 or 10 and a half games, which is a big difference, but 10 and 10 and a half. Teams in a tough division, the toughest division in football. And they have no receiver weapons, Harry. No receiver weapons besides their tight end. At least proven ones.
Who
And
is
that's the Kansas City Chiefs. They also have a lack of run game. But every time I doubt the Kansas City Chiefs, whatever. We did it last year, and look what happened.
Don't even ask me. I'm not going there.
What can we say? What can we
I
say
can't.
about this
Not
team?
doing it.
Lack of run game. They have no run game, but they have Patrick Mahomes and they have Andy Reid
I
and
that
Travis
there you
Kelce.
go. Those 3 together could win 7 ball games, okay?
And that's ridiculous to me. Isn't it crazy?
It really is. Don't
But
even ask me. I'm
they also
not
have
even
6
you
games against
cannot
the Raiders, who they've struggled against in years past, even with Mahomes and Reid. And then they have the Chargers, who I think end up winning this division, and they have the Broncos, who are all of a sudden now this great football team, unproven, but apparently on paper this great football team. This season is nuts, Harry. It's crazy. I don't know what to even I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. If you were to guess right now, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs heading into next season? What do you like? Right now, blind shot over under 10 and 10. I'll say 10 and a half wins for this team.
I missed the board. Hold on. Over.
All right. Yeah, it's so weird. It's like such a weird push. I don't know, Harry. I don't know. This thing is getting stressful for me. I'm gonna wrap it up.
You understand if it would have said 10, I would have went push.
Yeah,
Nobody wins. Hey
yeah.
man, I'm going to give out a couple of picks before we wrap it up. You want to do that?
Yep, let's do it before I let you get out of here.
Okay, I got some pretty good underdogs today that I
Yep.
kind of like. I'm going through this really quick because I had written it all down and it's on my computer. Cleveland, the Guardians are at the Detroit Tigers. Very small position, Detroit plus 140. The New York Yankees on the road at the Tampa Bay Rays. Not very often you're going to get Severino on the mound. I don't care who he's pitching against and be an underdog at plus 140. Bet the Yankees on the road at Tampa Bay. Kansas City on the road. Big underdog, plus 170, small position. Take them as a winner. The White Sox with the rebound game at home with Dylan Cease as a small favorite at plus 140. Take them. I'm giving a lot of games out here today, folks. I don't normally do this. It's usually 2 or 3. And that is going to be it, with the exception of the Mets at home as a very, 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 very small favorite. Do like them.
All right. There it is. All
And
right,
don't
Harry.
forget, today, hold on, the Coach's
All
Corner. Go
right.
down there and go visit Fat Mike. But most importantly, show your Sox pride. Go to the Coach's Corner down in Orland Park and show Fat Mike that 1252 Sports truly is a White Sox homepage. Love you, Mike. And you can catch us on the Over-Under on Friday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. I'm your host, Harry the Greek. We're going to be going through lines. Co-host, Mr. Peter Blake. Sometimes it's Mr. Jacob Charnow or even a Ray Kennedy. Or who knows, maybe a Fred Hubner. Talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for having me on today, Jacob.
Yes, sir. Hey, have a good day. Talk to you later.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Peace. All right, guys, and with that, we're going to wrap today from the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charnow. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. Special thanks to Harry the Greek for coming on. As always love having him on, talking about all this fun stuff. Be sure to go follow me on Twitter at Jacob Charnow, Instagram at Hard Count Football. Subscribe to Hard Count Football, and check out all the other shows, the amazing shows right here on 1252 Sports Chicago, guys. Like Harry said, if you're in Chicago, go to where Hubner and Fat Mike are. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun for this White Sox Cubs stuff. But while I'm here, I might as well say go Yankees, guys. I'll see you all next Sunday morning. Have a great Memorial Day. Peace.